This morning I copied for you the Sefer Igeres Mussar from Rabbi Salanter, and hardcore Mussar. We're going to get started over here. It's connection to what we began about last week. We were learning about Emunah, and then we kind of went me'inyan le'inyan to Yiras Hashem, and how that being practical. When we have Yiras Hashem, we have fear of Hashem, then we're actually able to live our life based on our Emunah, and we can actually harness ourselves to do what the right thing to do is. Okay, Igeres Mussar is written by Rabbi Salanter, and if it's a little bit choppy, it's because it's a bunch of different pages that are all pasted together. Tried my best. Okay. Rabbi Yisrael is going to be a little bit poetic, but it's very beautiful, and the words that he uses are descriptive. You know, it's like a muscle. If you use a different word, so he's making a comparison between a certain concept and then the idea that he uses in his poetry to describe it. Okay, so we begin with the sentence Ha'adam. Ha'adam chashi b'dimyayna. A man is free to do whatever he wants in his imagination. The asur b'muskala, but he's restrained and he's bound. He's not free to do whatever he wants. B'muskala, in his seichel, when he uses his intellect. In other words, says Rabbi Yisrael, that there's two kochos in a person, the dimyon and the seichel. And there's a battle between them. The dimyon is telling, the imagination is telling the person that don't focus on reality. Don't focus on consequences. Just free. You're free to do what you want. Enjoy yourself.
What is dominion? Dominion? What does it mean?
Dimyon. Dimyon means imagination.
Imagination.
Okay? Person, koach ha-dimyon, doesn't want to focus on what's really going to happen to him if he does such and such, or what's really going to be the consequence, and how's it going to affect him in the long run. He just wants to think about what's right in front of him, whatever he wants, and do what he wants. And the dimya, this imagination, says somehow I'll get out of it. This is, right now it's good, and I'm not aware of the future. Well, but the seichel says become aware of the future quick, because it's going to come, and you want to know about it. Okay. Says Rabbi Yisrael, Dimyono malichav shayvev. Shayvav b'derech lev v'tzayna. His imagination brings him shayvav here and off course. He could go wherever he pleases. B'derech lev v'tzayna, in the path of his desires. Baal Yechas, which if he's allowing his imagination to govern, he's not afraid. Baal Yechas meha'asid havadai. He's not afraid of the future that's coming. That's definitely coming without question. It's for sure coming, but the imagination nonetheless somehow is able to be misalem, to not focus on it. Ace, the time, Yivkayt Hashem al kol mifalav. If anyone doesn't have copies, there's some more copies over here, and just make use of that. Okay. Ace, the time Yivkayt Hashem al kol mifalav, that Hashem is going to pay back all of his everything that He created, and al kol mifalav means on what everything a person does. Hashem's going to deal to him what he deserves. V'shvatim kashim yivaser, and with harsh judgments, yivaser, a person will be chastised, and a person will have to suffer the consequences. Ba'al yilachid. Now, the first thing, the imagination, it could be Rabbi Yisrael, doesn't say that he's doing this, but step by step, he's peeling away what the imagination tells the person. Imagination tells a person, not for sure going to come, so he says, ha'asid havadai. This is coming. This is certain. The there's going to be a judgment on everything that a person does. The person says, okay, there's going to be consequences, I know, but I'm willing to, whatever it is, I'll put up with it. I wanted this enjoyment, it's worth it. It's a good trade. It's a trade-off. He says, "B'shvatim kashim yivaser." It's not worth it. The shvatim kashim yivaser, with the, it's harsh, the consequences. What Hashem is going to give a person what he deserves. Bal yilached zar b'glala. Here's another thing that a person tells himself. He says, right now I'm just focused on my reality as it is and who I am now, and like that the existence that I'm going to have after 120, that's like something else. That's the neshama. That's something spiritual. He says, no, it's no one else. Hu levado yisa prichatay. A person has to realize the same me that's here now is going to be the one who's going to be experiencing whatever the consequences are of the fruit of his own chatayim. Echad hu, it's the same person. He's one. Oisa aveira ve'anenash. Obviously, Hashem is not giving the aveira is done by one person, and then the einish comes to his neshama that somehow suffers from the guf. The guf did one thing, the neshama suffers. It's all the same person, the same personality.
There's a presumed bias to use your imagination in this way.
The person's imagination is going to have different devices to allow himself not to focus on the reality and what's really coming. He's going to, person says he wants to do something, he wants to live his life a certain way, and society tells him all types of things like just do it.
Why is he using the lashon of like imagination and not just like the classic Yetzirah or whatever?
Right. I think he's going to speak about this more later, but he wants us to understand how when we bring in the midah of emes and we're focused on the reality of what, if we are truthful with ourselves, then that's the undoing of us following after our Yetzirah, because the Yetzirah is using all kinds of reasonings with us which are really just hot air. It's just imagination. It's just that a person wants to allow himself to be led on, or to not think about whether it's true or it's not true. Is there a God? Is there not a God? Is there going to be Din V'Cheshbon? And so on. The person says, you know what, I'm not sure, and I didn't find out yet. So right now I'm living my life the way I'm living, but the person's really responsible.
As if it's a component of their intellectual thought process. So he's letting you.
What's the? And then we could overcome it. And he's going to speak more about this as we go on.
Is Israel speaking to somebody who says there is a God? Is there a God, or speaking to somebody that says there is a God? And you already accept that there is a God, like the people in this room.
To both. But I think probably his main audience was the people who accepted that there's a God. But I think it's the same thing with the person who hasn't accepted that there's a God yet. He knows very well that if he wants to be responsible, then he better find out what the reality is, because if there is a God who created this world and put him here for a purpose and has expectations of him, then he doesn't, he's better find out about that, because he's got responsibilities. He's got responsibilities. He has a chance right now to do it right or to not do it right. And when a person believes there's a God, so then he, on some level, he knows, and then another level, he allows himself to go along with certain things and say, look, it won't be so bad, or won't necessarily get punished for this, and so on. So, Bal Yomer Ha'adam. I'm up to where the sentence Echadhu Aisa Aveira V'Hanenash Marahi. I told you that this is hardcore. Rabbi Yisrael wants us to taste it. He wants it to hit home to us. He says it's bitter. Bal Yomer Ha'adam. Lest a person say, Zeh chali. It doesn't feel good. It's vesanu, but I'll bear it. I'm willing to. I'll suffer it out. I'm willing to go through to pay for the consequences. Don't say that. It's going to be very bitter. Pigei atevel mitzarim hema lemachbir mul anshe ha'averos. Pigei atevel are unfortunately the what goes on in this world that people suffer, and pega is something that a wound or a pain, something that a person was hurt or suffered. Pigei atevel mitzarim. They're narrow, they're small, they're mini compared lemachbir in a great sense mul anshe averos in comparison to the anshim to the punishments of the averos that are in olam haba. It's not what we're used to. It's much worse than what we're used to. Tigal nefesh ha'adam l'midai yaim l'shana yechashiv. This is getting harsh, right? But Michelle wants us. It's going to be easier on us a little bit soon, but it's for our own benefit that we should realize that if there's something that that we could fix up in this world, it's worthwhile to do so. If there's something that we could improve, we're saving ourselves a lot by doing so. Tigal, I'll translate the words. Tigal nefesh ha'adam l'midai. A person's nefesh, a person's I don't know how to translate nefesh, but his personality, who he is going to in Shemayim is going to be disgusted with himself and with what he's suffering. Yaim l'shana yechashiv. And one day will seem like a year. It's going to be hard. Oy l'dimyain. Woe is to this imagination. Oyev hara halazeh. This terrible enemy. That we have to realize that this is our enemy and how he's destroying us by not allowing us to realize the reality of the consequences. Okay. Part 2. Miyadeinuhu. It's in our abilities. Okay, we are able to overcome. B'kaychenu l'harchikai. We have the kayach to distance this power of the dimyan. B'titenu. How can we do that? B'titenu oizen kasheves al haseichel. When we give an ear that heeds the voice of the seichel. The seichel that maybe call it the Yetzer Tov, or call it the Midas Emes that's in the person that says, let's approach this like with an intellectual straightforwardness. The Seichel is telling us that he's telling us, whispering into our ear, think about what you're doing. V'haskil al dvar emes. When we listen to that, to become aware of the dvar emes, of the truth. L'achshav schar avera negative seda. To calculate, like Chazal tell us, to calculate the schar avera negative seda. Okay, this is Chazal say that a person, how does he overcome the Yetzer Hara? He makes a calculation, and the calculation is what happens if I do it? What happens if I don't do it? So if a person's doing an avera, so then there's certain gain from doing the avera. He might make $10,000. He might save a lot on taxes. He might get a lot of pleasure or enjoyment or something, or save himself from embarrassment or who knows what. And that's what he'll gain from doing the avera. And on the other hand, what is he going to lose? Negative seda. And when he makes that, if he makes that cheshbon, that's how he can overcome the dinna. But although I just said you could do it, but now let's take a step back. What could we do? How could we do this? Hadimyain nachal shoitev. The dimyain, the imagination of a person, this kayach that's so strong in a person, is like a raging river that's flooding, that's very powerful. Vaseichel yitva. The seichel will drown It's too hard for him to swim. The seichel is surrounded by a world and by many things in our life that are calling us, and it's a raging river out there. So how is the seichel not going to drown? If we don't, take the seichel in a boat. So you have to put you have to make a boat for the seichel, because the seichel by itself will drown in this raging river. What is the boat that we could put our seichel in to protect it from drowning? He rigshas hanefesh u'sa'aras haruach. It's the regesh. Regesh usually is translated as emotion of the person's desires. U'sa'aras haruach, and the sa'aras haruach means that a person gets heated up. The person gets it gets excited, the excitement that a person has. So in other words, if we just have the seichel is very dry. The seichel is dry seichel, the dry intellect can't compete with the dimyan. The dimyan is all around him, and it's rushing and raging, and there's so much calling him. And the intellect seems very true, but it's very dry and cold, and it's there, but a person doesn't feel attached to it. Where the attachment comes is something that's going to be able to ride on top of the same levels as the waters of the raging rivers of the dimyan, and that is what a person's emotional excitement, that if he could get his seichel somehow about what he believes in his intellect to become excited about that, and he could draw himself to become passionate and bring his passion into it, that could be the boat that could bring his seichel to stay afloat. Okay, now we're going to again take a step back from this. That's a beautiful mashal that a person could think about and ponder, that the raging river with the boat and the seichel needing that boat.
So the raging river is all his emotions, all his desires, his need to, let's say he has this desire for McDonald's French fries, right?
Right. And
that like, even though he believes in God, he's got God, there's no question there, right? He sees those French fries, it's so tasty.
Right. But if right in front of that McDonald's, or in the McDonald's itself, or whatever their area is, there's a blazing fire, and if he goes in there, he's going to get one of those things that he wants, but he's going to really suffer, maybe he'll get burnt up in the process. He's not going to go in there.
So but he thinks about this boat, the fire, the desire is the raging river, desire for the McDonald's French fries.
Yeah, the desire and the dimyan that lets a person just follow after that desire.
And he knows it's the wrong thing to do, but he still wants to do it.
Right. So that knowledge won't survive. The knowledge by itself, as a result, won't survive. Just learning that this is the truth, that it's still too hard.
So you need this boat.
So the boat, he says, is that if we somehow could become attached, what we know, to our emotions and to our passion, and somehow bring in our desires of what it is that we could almost feel that. And part of, I think, of why he was describing to us all of what he was saying before is because when a person focuses on the description and a person is misbainen about it, that's one of the ways that he could start almost like feeling that fire right in front of McDonald's. It's really going to take a few years before he feels it, but
practically for a person speaking lashon hara, right? Speaking about, that rabbi, he said such and such.
Right.
That's the real error that's going on here.
Yeah. So he's going to speak about that also. He's going to speak about that also, and depends on the person. But there also, when a person, Rabbi Yisrael is going to give us practical advice of how to overcome specific aveiros, and lashon hara. Lashon hara is one of them. But so far, he's saying that the way to overcome is to give a heeding ear to our seichel and to listen to that voice of truth and realization of what's going to come, what's the schar avera, what's the hefseda, right? And to see the sides in front of him, but at the same time, just being aware of that won't be enough. He has to somehow bring that into his consciousness and bring it into his regesh, and we're going to have to learn how to build it up. And there could be different ways of building it up, but that's necessary, that a person should bring it into the tchum, into the realm of the regesh, which is something that speaks more to his desires. Okay, we're starting a new paragraph now at the bottom of the page, second to last paragraph on this page. In all matters, yesh klal uprat. There's a general rule, and there is a specific. Klal, general, uprat, and specific. Osugi, umini, v'ishi, or there's something that's for the entire group, and then there's something for the individual. But there's two different classes: the group and the individual, the klal and the prat. What Rabbi Yisrael is going to say, I spend some time thinking about. You could spend some time thinking about. If you're more philosophically inclined, maybe you'll have an easier time with this. If not, we could still keep thinking about this and what the relevance it has to us. But undoubtedly, it's important. If it's Rabbi Yisrael's going to bring home to us the whole perspective of what he's saying is going to go into the reka, into this background of what the idea is about to present. In ein klal, ein prat. If there is no rule, there is no specific point. The point is only exists within the klal. In ein klal, ein prat. Ki, because what's the reason for that? Ein beprat, ela mashe b'klal. The prat, the individual component, the piece, can only has in it whatever is within the whole body, with the whole klal. So if you don't have that body, you don't have any of the pratim. None of the pratim exists without that. Ochein, however, yesh klal af be'ein prat mutzaf. There could be a klal without any individual component. Okay, like I said, this is philosophical. On one level, I think part of what he means is that a person could have a klal which will be a whole dream. Let's just say it, and then the dream is in place, and then all of the steps of a person's goal or a person's aim is in place, and that's the klal already, and that could exist. And now there are no details yet of how is he going to get from point A to point B, to point F, and he's going to have to go to all these points in between. Those he's not aware of yet. The first thing, says Rabbi Yisrael, is the klal.
So the klal could be the boat, the concept of this boat floating through your emotions.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, let's hold off on that for a second. But right now, maybe. Okay, let's hold off on that, and we'll let people connect the dots soon. But the idea of just this by itself is that we have to ilazais, because of this point that I just made. Reish is kol davar, the beginning of any endeavor. Hu haklal is the general. The general concept of what's going on here in a broader sense. Umimenu, and from it, hapratim yimashchu. The pratim the details, they will be drawn, they'll come from once you have the klal, you'll say, okay, these details are part of that klal. Ata, nashkifna b'avodaseinu. Now, with this in mind, let's take a look at our own avodas Hashem, hamechuyeves l'bareinu yisbarach, the service that we are obligated to do for our Creator, l'bareinu yisbarach. Haloi davarhu. Haloi davarhu means, isn't it something interesting? Mahu haklal. What is it? What is the general concept, the general rule, Asher Mimenu Nishav HaPratim, that all of our avodas Hashem that we're obligated to do will flow from that. What is this klal that if we have that strong in place, then all of the pratim of our avodas Hashem will come and flow from that. Says Rabbi Yisrael, V'li das, v'li tfuna, without such genius, we'll just call it, okay, without das and without tfuna, das is knowledge and tfuna is understanding. Nakir, we can recognize. She'emuna hamirachefes panu, the emuna, okay, we could translate belief, that's hovering within us, that's there, that's within us, Shalakim Shaifetu, that Hashem is judging, that Hashem is watching, Lasif La'ish Kifrima Alalai, to give a person exactly according to what he produces. And now, in parentheses, he says both sides, Imra Umar Darkoi, if a person has a evil and bitter path, Yivaser B'Einshim Royim, then he will be suffer with harsh onshim, punishments, or consequences, you could call it. Im B'Olam Hazeh. Yeah, is that the next line? Im B'Olam Hazeh, Ay B'Olam Haba Olam HaNitzchi. But whether it's in this world or whether it's in the next world, the Olam HaNitzchi, the eternal world. Baal Yeda, my son once asked me if I know what's going to be in 10,000 years. So I said that the Olam Haba is Netzach Netzachim. Netzach means forever, forever and ever. Person's Olam Haba, 10,000 years. I told him, for all the mitzvahs that you do, you're going to be deriving all of the rewards. And you're going to be sitting there enjoying it, and it's not going to be just in 10,000 years, it'll be in 20,000 years. You'll still be enjoying all those mitzvahs that you did. And it may have just taken a moment to do it, but the schar, or the person, Olam Haba is Olam HaNetzach.
How did you explain Olam Haba then?
We've spoken about it before, but they have these children's tapes that's also, but it's something that's hard for anyone to relate to. But the idea that a person is going to, even a child knows that when they come and they get an award of achievement or something, and they bring it home, and the parent is so pleased with them and so happy, and there's a shower of recognition of, you're so special, it's so wonderful, I'm so proud of you. A child could relate to that. And we, on a much grander scale, a person getting that recognition from the creator of the world, the Borei Olam, that Hashem, so to speak, is right there before him, and the person knows that Hashem is so proud of me, so to speak, that I did this mitzvah and I maximized my potential, and we have that bond that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has this chiba, this love for me, and I could relate to this to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a reward that's beyond our capacity to comprehend the beauty of that, or the embarrassment, chas v'shalom, of being in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and having let him down, and we can't hide, we can't duck under the table, and just like Adam Arishan said that he was hiding in Gan Eden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, where are you? He said, I was hiding. There's nowhere. There's not going to be anywhere to hide.
I was going to say, the mitzvah that you do, and you get the reward, you make happy the Creator, so you get the reward, but you get another reward, that you make happy the Creator. So you got
double.
Another reward.
Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a reward not only for doing the mitzvah, but now you get the schar. Hashem wants to give you the schar. So you gave him an opportunity to give you schar. So now you get double reward for giving Hashem the opportunity to be mative to you. So maybe we could describe that as schar in terms of kavod, perhaps. And
So the reward is the feeling that you get.
That recognition, that kavod, that proximity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because of what we did and followed. So that, when a person does mitzvah, a person is going in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When a person perfects his midas, he's imitating the midas of Hashem, and he's besides doing the will of Hashem, but he's also becoming more godlike and be able to connect. He's being connected on that level of whatever he's done. Bal Yeda, on the top line here. Bal Yeda Enosh Erka. Man, a human being, will never know, cannot know the scale of measurement of the in Olam Haba. Ad kama tigdal amala reish be'echos v'kamas. How way above it is our own perception. V'imzach v'im yasher palai. But on the other hand, if a person's deeds, a person's actions, what he was payal, what he achieved, was zach, was pure, was yasher, was straight, doesn't say that it was grand. It says that it was straight and it was pure. Lu'umasai baruch ye'amer. So, Lu'umasai baruch ye'amer.
In his favor.
In his favor, towards him, it will be said, Baruch, this person is blessed. This person has the blessing of what he has done. B'tanugim nisayim, with a high level of pleasures, ba'olam hazeh, of a yaiser, and even more so, ba'olam haba. B'idan nifla, with a joy, with a pleasure that's awesome, l'mala harbe miseichel v'hargesh anaishi, way above the seichel and the regesh of a person, much more than we could relate to. He rachis this emuna. He rachis mitzadenu la'avoidasa yisparach. The emuna in Olam Haba, that is the first step, because that's the klal, that's the rule, that's the general rule, that there's going to be, that we live within this reality. He rachis mitzadenu la'avoidasa yisparach. That's the first step that we have to take in the service of Hashem. Where do we see this? And as we spoke about this last week, Hu Maimer Chazal, this is what Chazal say in Gemara Makkos, B'Chabakuk, B'Midan Alachas. Chabakuk, at the end of the times of the Nevi'im, came and he narrowed it down. Hemidan Alachas, he came at the Midas and our areas to focus on in service of Hashem, and he said, let's narrow it down to one that could be encompassing, that could be the area for us to focus on. The tzaddik b'emunasa yichya. The tzaddik lives with his emunah, and that's apparently, if that's that's the one thing, that's the first step, and that's the klal, the emunah. And Rabbi Yisrael saying that it's which emunah? It's the emunah which is the practical emunah that's going to get us to live within a certain context and motivate us, and that is the emunah in Olam Haba of the greatness and the awesomeness of the consequences, whether it's for good or whether for not good. Umaymer Chazal, another proof that he brings, is the Gemara in Baba Basra. Al Kain Yoimu HaMoishlim. Therefore, the Moishlim are the rulers, the ones who don't succumb to their the evil inclination. They don't succumb to their desires and to fall short of their obligation, to the laziness and so on. What is their strategy? Bo cheshbon, let's make a cheshbon, let's make a calculation. And what's the calculation? Hefsid mitzvah keneged schara, v'schara aveira keneged hefseda. The calculation is the schar that we make the scale and we take a look and we see what's going to be, what's coming at the end based on what we do. And what we're going to go on to understand is, okay, we don't know. We could use our imagination. That's going to be a powerful tool. But what we never were in Olam Haba. We never saw what's going on up there. So how could we relate to it? And certainly, if we're learning Mamari Chazal and we're believing in that, so then the more we review it, the more we take it for real and see that this is what they mean is exactly what they say. So then we could start using, bringing it closer to home through that. Let's see. Rabbi Yisrael says that there's a big problem that we have, an obstacle, an obstacle that we have to realize is in front of us. However, l'mayras ruach, the daven lev, to our bitter disappointment, kayach haklali hazeh rak mistater banu. This power is not at the forefront of our consciousness. This is just laying somewhere low beneath the surface. Nechva b'matzpune halev, it's hiding in the depths of a person's heart, in the hidden areas of a person's heart. Ba'al yirah chutza, it doesn't come out. It's not seen. So it's very nice that this will really help a person, but the problem is that we do have this, perhaps we know it on some level, even naturally, but it's not coming out by itself too much. It's not going to exercise its powers, its hold over a person, imlai, unless nasim lev l'shadid admas levavenu, unless we pay attention and we devote ourselves to work the ground, the shadid admas levavenu, to get the ground ready, the ground of our hearts. That's the soil that we can plant. And the way to do that is to be marchiv. Marchiv means to stretch out, to broaden, to lay out something and take it apart and broaden it in front of us and see what does it really mean. Rayone HaMussar, the ideas of the Mussar. Okay. Now, because if we don't do that, because of this, this general koach, which is the first one that we're supposed to have, it won't have any effect on a person's evarim, on a person's body. What he uses to do his ma'asim, to bind a person with the binds of yira. In other words, most of the time we know it's coming, or on some level, and we're able to push it aside, and then when the Yetzer Hara is there, and the Nisayon's there, and we really want it, there's no stopping us. And from this klal of Amuna in Schar V'Einish, the pratim won't come. So then there's a problem here, where the klal isn't producing the pratim. This dream or this vision or this general rule, what's supposed to come into place, what's supposed to flow from there, that we're supposed to be perfect in our observance and doing the X, Y, and Z, it's not happening. To guard ourselves from aveiros that come up and really are pulling us. And unfortunately, we were nichshal b'chol eis b'aveiros ramos. Ad shemayim yagiu. We're nichshal. We're talking about from Yidden. He's saying we're nichshal in aveiros which are very, very great. Ramos means high. Ad shemayim yagiu, that reach up to the heavens. B'chetei haloshan. The first one that Zayel mentioned before. The first one that Yisrael mentions is chatoi haloshan, what we do with our tongue, how we speak. Ve'ein matzar l'ruchenu, with nothing holding. Matzar is something that restrains, that holds something back. We don't have no control. Ve'ein matzar l'ruchenu, v'iskei matzar maton, and then when it comes to business, l'machbir, bittul Torah kulana, and then what a person is bittul Torah, that a person doesn't learn and doesn't invest his time and his life in Torah study.
Bittul Torah means that he wastes his time.
Right, he doesn't do that.
Yeah, but he could be using his time practically in business. He's busy, then he's not bittul Torah. His time is being used I think what you're saying is you're just wasting time, just doing nothing, reading the...
Right, or he's choosing something that's not important instead of something that it could be.
Like there's no value
when
to
he
what
could.
he's doing, there's no purpose, right?
Kulana, that's on top of all of them. And we're going to end off on this depressing note, and then hopefully we'll get on to seeing what we could do about it more and how we could get onto that boat. There's nothing. We could investigate every single area, all the ivarim, all of the limbs, all of our service, the details, and there's nothing shalem. There's nothing that's really totally healthy, that has no blemish on it. The mispain and hated for somebody who thinks about it well, ishlaf yarka. And the reason is, ishlaf yarka means each person according to his level. Shekol hagadol mechaberai, because the greater a person is, yitzray gadol mimenu. His yetzer hara also is bigger. V'nichshal, and that person is nichshal b'averas nisais v'ramais asher im gam l'cheshchas l'vaveinu. Okay, we'll go back into this next time, Be'ez Hashem. But we have a big problem. We have a klal. He says we could identify the klal, and the klal somehow is not coming up to the forefront. It's not coming into our consciousness, and it's not holding us back when we put into temptation. We still are unrestrained. Shekayach. Everyone should have hatzlacha this week, and try to keep in mind to live with the seichel, not with the dimyon.